Ocon with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's military says it plans to conduct live fire exercises with the country's brand new M1A2 Abrams tanks in June. The military says it's also planning a ceremony to formally place the tanks into service sometime in the second half of this year. Taiwan's army received the first batch of 38 tanks in December last year, and a second batch of 42 tanks should arrive next month. In total, Taiwan purchased 108 of the advanced Abrams battle tanks from the U.S. in a deal worth roughly $1.2 billion. Taiwan's Coast Guard says that since 2022, it has driven out more than 3,600 illegal Chinese fishing vessels that have crossed into waters near Taiwan. Every year starting in May, a fishing ban is enforced in waters around Taiwan by both China and Taiwan. Taiwan's Coast Guard says that since this year's ban was put into place, Chinese fishing boats have repeatedly sailed into the restricted area. The Coast Guard says water cannons were used to drive out the vessels. Labor groups in Taipei are calling for an end to the 12 to 14-year time limit for migrant workers to stay in Taiwan.
Walaupun pekerja perawat dapat memperpanjang hingga 14 tahun jika memenuhi sistem penilaian, namun kenyataannya batasan masa kerja tetap ada dan tidak berubah secara mendasar.
Migrant workers in Taiwan are currently only allowed to stay for a certain number of years before they must return home, a system which prevents long-term settlements in the country. Activists are also demanding reform of a scheme that allows longer-term settlements, saying that conditions to qualify are too challenging. Critics say that migrant workers have to shoulder huge fees and that retention under the current system is only up to the employers. Caretakers also called for their work to be recognized as skilled.
We are skilled. Our labor is essential. Our years of working experience is with commitment. Don't treat us as if we are temporary.
A representative from the Labor Ministry said they will review the petition and consider the migrant workers' demands. Taiwan's former president Tsai has offered up her view on the mass recall campaigns against legislators for the first time in public.
This is part of the democracy. That is the third branch of the democracy, that is the republic. Ask why they're so enthusiastic about participating. And of course, my answer is that they'd like to do that after decades of authoritarian rule. But there is something inherent and deep in their mind that is they want to make sure Taiwan is okay because there's a threat from across the strait.
Tsai was speaking after delivering a speech at the University of Cambridge, part of her multi-day tour of the UK, which she is visiting in a private capacity. On Saturday, she visited SOAS, University of London, where she met with Taiwanese students and the heads of the Center of Taiwan Studies, one of Europe's leading schools researching Taiwan. The largest sporting event Taiwan has ever hosted has officially kicked off in Taipei and New Taipei City. Thousands of athletes gathered at the Taipei Dome for the opening ceremony. Leslie Liao reports.
Sports beyond age, life without limits. The 2025 World Masters Games have arrived in Taiwan. The global sporting event has attracted over 25,000 athletes from 100 countries to Taipei and New Taipei City. And on Friday evening, athletes gathered at the Taipei Dome for the game's opening ceremony.
I'm from Tahiti and competing golf.
U.S. Chicago area, we compete in judo.
I am Mary, I'm 66 years old and I come from South Africa, Johannesburg, and I play field hockey. So does all my teammates, and they're all the average age, 60 years and older.
As this year's event's slogan suggests, age is nothing but a number at the World Masters Games. Anyone over 30 can sign up to compete in the event's 35 sports. Some athletes here are testing the limits of time, like the world's oldest badminton player Ling Mao, who is 104 years old. The night opened in grand fashion with performances by the likes of Taiwanese indigenous singer Ah Bao and indigenous performance group Nangwak. Then, both the Taipei and New Taipei mayors marked the occasion, celebrating the Taipei World Masters Games as a historic achievement.
2025双北世界壮年运动会是亚洲首场世界壮年运动会，参赛人次也突破我们历年国际综合性运动赛会的纪录。
双北世壮运是历年来规模最盛大的国际赛会。
5 guests of honor officially kicked off the games, including Taiwan's Olympic gold medal boxer Ling Yuting and NVIDIA founder and CEO Jensen Huang, who is Taiwanese American. Unlike the Olympics, athletes don't represent countries at the World Masters Games. There are no borders and no limits. It's an event that's more about having fun and connecting with others, as sports should be. Luffy Li, Eason Chen, Sandy Chi, and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
In recent years, pilgrimages celebrating the sea goddess Mazu are drawing record crowds. Every year, tens of thousands of worshippers walk for days across the country's rural western region. Our reporter Bryn Thomas went along to see what's behind the surge in devotion and what keeps so many people coming back.
15 years ago, only about 5,000 registered participants followed Baishatun's Mazu on her annual pilgrimage across Taiwan's plains. This year, that number grew to over 700,000.
我从20几岁的时候在Toyota上班到现在啊，看过我白沙屯的香灯脚那么多，真的是越来越多了。从以前差不多10几分钟就走完了，现在快1个小时还没走完呢，真的很恐怖啊。
我们都会来这里，就是走一下，人很多啊，要挤来挤去，这样不好走，那里最困难。
就越来越多话题，然后很多的广告行销，感觉起来好像是一个热门的事情了，好像不参加会好像在潮流之外，所以我想要参加。
The pilgrimage has been held yearly since the 1860s. It's the older of 2 long processions held in spring, celebrating the birthday of a Chinese tutelary deity, Mazu. Mazu is particularly important in seafaring communities along Taiwan's western coast. She's believed to protect fishermen and sailors and anyone who makes their living on the ocean. Now, she was brought from China to Taiwan centuries ago, and she's been worshipped here for about 400 to 500 years. The Baishatun Mazu pilgrimage starts and ends in Miaoli, covering up to 400 kilometers in just over a week. Half the distance is done in 3 days, with alternating teams of sedan chair carriers at one point running through the night. What made this trek famously challenging was its lack of a set path. The route is decided by divination along the way. This stopped many people from joining, as they didn't know where or when to find Mazu. But technology, in the form of GPS, a live stream, and tracking drones, has changed that.
资讯的话比较发达之后，大家对这个讯息的比较容易获得，而且有 GPS， 它可以随时加入，不用说从起点就加入了。
As turnout grows, small villages and remote intersections are overwhelmed. Rural toilets built for a handful of locals must suddenly serve tens of thousands. Volunteers fill the gaps. Those at the front of the procession may get home-cooked meals. Those at the back, at least some leftover chips and crackers. Local truck drivers also help out, offering rides to the road-weary on their tired trucks. The way it works, for the most part, seems to be you just wave them down and hop on, and you just find a seat where you can get it. I know I promised I'd walk the whole thing, but it's starting to look like I'll be spending a lot of time on the tire truck. Mazu is Taiwan's most revered folk deity, and her pilgrimage offers a profound, uniquely Taiwanese experience. For some, it's deeply personal.
我太太她身体不好，那时候我第一次接触到那个妈祖的进香绕境，然后我就想说，我就跟妈祖讲说，如果我太太身体可以好的话，我愿意每年都陪着妈祖走。那隔年呢，她就去世了。 只不过我还是每年一样跟着妈祖走。那4年前就开始买娃娃送给小朋友。那送给小朋友的时候，小朋友的那个 灿烂的笑容，就会让我想到我那个老婆，她在天上老婆的那个灿烂的笑容。卡比巴拉卡林金，卡皮巴拉卡帕拼。
For others, the trek is an act of gratitude.
因为我去年是228就是开刀，然后我16天我就来走妈祖，结果我来这边的时候都没有房间，然后妈祖啊就我们一行6个人，然后我就去柜台问，就刚好有一间取消，刚好6人房，结果我拿到房卡的那一刻我吓到了。他的那个房卡是我的生日号码，所以白沙屯妈祖就是很疼这些信众，他知道我开刀就找了一间房子给我，所以这是让我真的很感动。
For others still, it's the sense of community and shared culture that leads them to take part.
也就是说，我们人与人是互相的尊重、包容，还有一些对社会一些奉献的人的一种感觉，我们把那种这种人情味，把它作为一个浓缩台湾人的生活。
In a small country like Taiwan, a pilgrimage that draws nearly 1 million people means a significant share of a population is taking part. For many here, it's a way to reconnect with tradition and search for meaning, using modern tools to follow something ancient while traversing a landscape that's both physical and cultural. Ryan Wu and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Like Taiwan, Vietnam is a country at risk from typhoons. Last year, it was hit by Super Typhoon Yagi, and the impact is still felt by many Vietnamese who are struggling to move on 6 months after the disaster. Miriam Brunner has this story.
Half a year since her life was turned upside down, Nguyen Thi Kim is back in the place she once called home. This is all that remains of her village in the mountains of northern Vietnam, destroyed by floods from the most powerful typhoon to hit the country in decades. Her family had farmed this area for half a century, and she never thought she would have to leave.
My life was so peaceful. Time just passed by every day. I used to wish it would be like that forever. No one expected the disaster to be too big for us all. I can't forget.
Super Typhoon Yagi swept across Vietnam in September last year, killing at least 250 people and devastating the country's infrastructure. Nguyen Thi Kim's village was among the most affected. When the storm had passed, the area was deemed unsafe. Residents were advised to rebuild elsewhere and offered an alternative site. Though Kim and her neighbors have re-established their community, there's still a lot that worries them.
It's really safe now, but I am still very panicky whenever the wind and the rain come. I am very, very panicky.
A fear that experts say is not unfounded.
Predicting absolute safety in geology is actually very difficult because the Earth is changing slowly. Natural geological phenomena are also changing.
The villagers want their lives to return to normal, but climate change continues to pose a challenge. With more frequent rains across the region and the remaining threat of floods.
We want to follow our traditions, but if it's not safe to do so any longer, we need to change.
Displaced and still distraught, Nguyen Thi Kim and her neighbors are just several of millions of people here having to live with the impact of global warming, wanting to rebuild, but anxious that without a permanent solution, what lies ahead could again be gone in a flash. John Su and Miriam Brunner for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we'll leave you with more footage of the World Masters Games opening ceremony in Taipei. I'm Jaime Ocon. Take care. We'll see you next time.